Far away from the blue earth in the dark sea of stars, an alien woman was watching. Her eyes were not like human eyes. Inside them, small galaxies were turning, glowing alive. She did not speak yet, but her silence carried a question that burned in her heart. She had traveled across endless space. She had seen cold planets and burning suns. She had seen worlds where machines ruled, and worlds where life was nothing more than numbers. Her people were wise and strong, but they did not know love. For them, life was about order, logic, and survival. No sacrifice, no kindness, no gift without a reason. But on Earth, she saw something different. She looked down at the blue oceans, the green forests, the crowded cities. She saw humans laughing together, crying together, holding hands in joy and in pain. She saw a soldier covering his friend in battle, even when fire burned all around. She saw a mother giving food to her child, even though she was hungry herself. She saw strangers helping each other during storms and disasters, and she whispered in her mind, "Why do they risk everything? For love?" The alien woman did not understand, but she was curious. Her heart, though alien, began to move with questions she had never asked before. Was love stronger than fear? Stronger than pain? Stronger than death itself? She could not find the answer by watching from the stars. She knew she had to walk among them. So she made a choice. She changed her form. Her silver skin turned soft and human. Her glowing eyes became brown like the earth. Her long hair, shining like fire, fell over her shoulders. Now she looked like a woman of Earth, but inside her the stars were still alive. She stepped into the human world. The air filled her lungs, warm and sweet. The sounds of life surrounded her, children shouting, cars moving, birds calling. She walked through the streets of a city. Hiding in plain sight, humans passed her by, busy with their lives, never knowing who she was. But she watched them, every face, every smile, every tear. She saw two people fighting in anger, but moments later, one reached out and hugged the other. She saw a poor man sharing his last bread with a hungry dog. She saw a young girl singing on a corner, her voice trembling, but people stopped and clapped for her. The alien woman's heart trembled. She whispered again, "Why? Why would humans give when they have nothing? Why would they forgive even after pain? Why would they keep dreaming even when the world broke them again and again?" The alien woman followed her questions deeper. At night, she stood under human skies, looking at the same stars they looked at. She saw couples sitting together, whispering secrets only they knew. She saw families praying, their hands joined, their eyes closed in hope. She saw children running, laughing with a freedom her people never knew. The more she saw, the more she felt something growing inside her. It was not logic, it was not duty. It was something soft and dangerous. It was belonging. But belonging was forbidden for her kind. Her people had no place for love, no place for weakness, no place for giving without taking. If they knew what she was doing, they would call her a traitor. They would order her to return, or to destroy the humans she admired. But the alien woman did not turn away. She wanted to know more, to go deeper. One night, as the city lights glowed below, she stood on a rooftop. The wind carried voices, laughter, music, the sound of life, and she whispered, "I will understand them. I will find why love gives them strength." But in the shadows, unseen, other eyes were watching her, eyes that did not want her to learn, eyes that feared what would happen if she discovered the truth about humans. The hook was set, the mystery had begun. The alien woman had come to Earth to answer one question, a question that would change her forever. Why do humans risk everything, even their lives, for something no other species believes in, love? The alien woman now walked among humans. She wore their clothes, she spoke their words, and she tried to copy their ways, but inside her heart, she carried a secret brighter than the stars. She was not one of them. She was not human. Her body looked soft, her skin felt warm, but her blood still shone with light. If someone touched her, they might feel the pulse of a universe hidden inside. She moved through the city like a shadow. By day, she walked through crowded streets. By night, she searched the silence. She studied humans in markets, schools and homes. Everywhere she looked, she found something new, something strange, but she kept her truth locked deep inside. No one could know who she was. One evening, she entered a small cafe. People sat together, laughing, eating, living. She chose a corner seat, quiet, hidden, yet close enough to observe. She watched a group of friends share a single cake, cutting it into equal pieces. She watched a young man give his seat to an old woman, smiling without wanting anything in return. Her people would never understand this. In her world, everything was measured. Every gift demanded a cost, but here on Earth, kindness was given freely. Her secret heart trembled as she wondered, could this be the reason they survive? But the danger of her secret grew. Her people were watching her, even across the stars. They had placed invisible eyes in the sky, silent machines that followed her every move. If she forgot who she was, if she broke their law, they would know. And if humans ever discovered her true nature, would they accept her or fear her? One night, as she walked along a quiet street, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned, her human eyes calm but her alien senses awake. A man stepped from the shadows, tall, curious, searching. Strange, he said softly. I see you every day, but you are never the same. Her heart froze. Had he seen her glowing eyes when she was careless? Had he felt the light that sometimes escaped her skin? She smiled, pretending, hiding. I am only a traveler, she said, her voice smooth, human. But the man's gaze stayed on her, steady and sharp. You are not like the others, he whispered. Then he walked away, leaving her shaken. Her secret was no longer safe. Still, she could not stop searching. She went to hospitals and saw humans suffering, yet still holding hands. She went to schools and saw children learning with bright eyes. She went to battlefields in memory, hearing stories of soldiers who gave their lives for friends. Everywhere she looked, humans carried one truth. They were fragile, yet unbroken, weak yet unafraid to love. Her alien logic failed to explain it. But her alien heart began to feel it one day. She stood near a river as the sun went down. Children were playing, water splashing, their laughter rising in the air. For the first time, her lips curved into a true smile. It was not learned, not copied. It was real. And in that moment, her secret changed. She was not only hiding who she was from humans, she was hiding something even greater from her own people. She was beginning to love them, but love was forbidden. Her people had destroyed it long ago, calling it weakness if they discovered her new heart. They would send ships, they would burn Earth. Her secret was no longer just about her identity. It was about her choice, her loyalty, her future. Would she return to her people, cold and strong, or would she stay with humans, warm but fragile? As the night fell, she stood under the stars again. Her eyes glowed faintly. The galaxies inside her struggling to stay hidden, she whispered into the wind. I am not only here to learn, I am here to decide. But in the silence, a deep voice answered, not from Earth, but from the sky. You have been seen, you have been marked, you cannot belong to them. She looked up, fear and courage mixing in her heart. Her secret was no longer safe. Her people knew, and soon humans would know too. The alien woman stood at the edge of two worlds. One demanded obedience, the other offered belonging. Her secret was no longer only her own. It was the beginning of something larger, a story that would change the fate of both humans and her kind. The alien woman carried her secret like a shadow. Every day she feared someone would see the truth in her eyes, yet every day she also longed to learn more about humans. Her heart, once silent, now beat with questions, questions no star map could answer. She had studied kindness from a distance, but now she wanted to feel it close, to touch the reason humans gave without fear. It was on a rainy evening when she met him. The sky was heavy with clouds, water poured from above. The streets turned into rivers. She stood under a broken roof, watching people run for shelter. Then a young man appeared, carrying a small bag. His clothes wet, his steps slow. He noticed her standing alone, shivering from the cold without hesitation. He took off his jacket and placed it on her shoulders. She froze, her alien mind struggling. Why would he give his warmth to a stranger? Take it, he said simply with a smile that held no demand. She wanted to refuse, to hide, but her lips only whispered, "Thank you." It was a small word, but it carried a weight she had never known. For her people, giving without reason was impossible. But this man gave as if it was natural in that moment. She felt something stir inside her, a spark of belonging. The days passed, and she saw him again. He worked at a small bookshop near the corner street. The place smelled of paper and ink, filled with human stories and dreams. Sometimes she entered just to watch him speak to customers. He never looked down on the poor, never ignored the old, never laughed at the weak. His kindness was quiet yet powerful, and slowly, her curiosity grew into something she could not name. One afternoon, he found her standing by the shelf of old books. "You like stories?" he asked. She nodded, unsure how to explain. He handed her a book, its cover worn, its pages soft with age. This one, he said, is about a hero who saves others not because he is strong, but because he chooses to. She touched the book, her fingers trembling. A hero not because of power, but because of choice. Was this the human secret? As the sun set, they walked together through the quiet streets. He told her about his childhood, about mistakes, about dreams he still carried. He laughed at his own failures, yet his eyes still shone with hope. The alien woman listened, every word cutting deep into her hidden heart. Her people never spoke of weakness, never admitted failure, never dreamed beyond control. But here was a human, fragile yet unafraid, weak yet brave, and she thought, this is what makes them different. Days turned into weeks, and their bond grew. He never asked where she came from, never demanded to know her past. Instead, he treated her as if she had always belonged. They shared food, stories, and silence. When she laughed, it was no longer a mask, it was real. When she smiled, it was not copied, it was hers. For the first time, she felt more human than alien, but danger followed her like a shadow. Each time she touched his hand, she worried he might feel the hidden light inside her skin. Each time she looked into his eyes, she feared he would see the galaxies hiding in her own. Yet she could not stay away. The more she tried to protect her secret, the more she wanted to promise him something no alien had ever promised. One night, as they sat by the river under the stars, he said softly, "You always look at the sky as if it is calling you." Her heart trembled. He did not know how true his words were, she whispered. "The sky is my home, but it feels so far away now." He looked at her, calm and kind, and said, "Home is not always where you are born. Sometimes it is where you are understood." Her chest ached at those words. A human had given her something her people never could, a place in his world. And in that moment, she made a silent promise. She would give him more than kindness, more than thanks. She would give him a gift beyond any human love. But the stars above burned with warning. Her people had seen her choice, and they would not forgive it. Her secret was no longer just about survival. It was about loyalty. Would she protect the man who gave her belonging, or obey the empire that created her? The answer would decide not only her fate, but the fate of Earth itself. The alien woman thought she had found peace. Every day with the human man felt like a new world. He gave her no reason to hide, no reason to fear. But beyond the skies, her people were watching, and they were not silent anymore. In her dreams, voices called her name, cold, sharp voices that carried the law of her world. "You do not belong there," they said. "You are forgetting who you are." And then, darker words followed. "If you choose them, you betray us." She woke each night with her heart burning. The stars outside the window seemed closer, heavier. It was as if the universe itself was pressing down. Her secret life on Earth was turning into a battle she could not escape. One evening, as she walked with the man through the busy streets, she felt a sudden silence inside her, a silence that meant danger. Above them, hidden from human eyes, a shadow moved in the sky. It was one of her people's machines. A watcher, sent to remind her of her duty. Her blood grew cold. They were no longer only observing, they were preparing. The man noticed her pale face. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice soft with concern. She forced a smile, but her chest was heavy. How could she tell him the truth? How could she explain that she was not only hiding from humans, but from her own kind, that if they discovered her promise to him, he would be the first to suffer that night? She left him sleeping peacefully and went to the rooftop alone. The stars glimmered above, familiar and cruel. She whispered into the night, "Why must I choose?" And the sky answered with a burning light, a message from her people. Return now, or face the consequence. Her heart shook. If she returned, she would be safe. But she would lose the only belonging she had ever felt. If she stayed, she would protect her promise. But she would bring danger upon the human she cared for. It was a choice between worlds, and both choices carried pain. The next morning, she walked through the streets as if every sound was a warning. Every face seemed to hide suspicion. She saw strangers looking at her too long, and she wondered, were they human or were they her people in disguise? The paranoia grew, but so did her resolve. She could not leave, not yet. She had to understand why humans loved so deeply, why they gave so freely. Her heart told her the answer was close, and she could not walk away. That evening, she returned to the bookshop. The man greeted her with his usual warm smile, but when she looked at him, she saw more than kindness. She saw the reason she could not return. He had become the thread that tied her to earth, and without him, she would drift back into the emptiness of her people's cold laws. Yet the Watchers grew bold. That night, when she walked home alone, she felt them around her, shadows moving without sound, air trembling with hidden energy. And then a voice spoke behind her, low and hard. "You are one of us." "But you are breaking the law," she turned. And her breath froze. It was not a human. It was an agent of her people. Hidden in human skin, his eyes glowed faintly. Not with warmth, but with command. "You must return," he said. "Humans are weak. They are dangerous to you. They will never accept you." She stepped back, her heart racing. "They are more than you believe," she whispered. "They are strong in ways you cannot see." The agent's face was still. "Prescient, then you have already fallen, and for that, you will pay." Before she could answer, the shadow was gone, swallowed by the night. But his warning burned in her chest. Her people would not wait much longer. They would test her loyalty, and if she failed, they would destroy everything she had begun to love. When she returned to the man, he saw the fear in her eyes. "You're hiding something," he said softly. Her lips parted, but the truth was too heavy. How could she tell him that the stars he admired were also her jailers? How could she tell him that his kindness had made her choose against an empire? Instead, she whispered, "I'm afraid of losing this." He took her hand without asking questions. "You won't lose me," he said. But deep inside, she knew the storm was coming. The choice she feared would soon arrive, and when it did, her promise would be tested beyond anything she had imagined. The storm arrived sooner than she feared. One night the city shook with light, a sky not of thunder, but of alien fire. Her people had come, not in whispers, not in shadows, but in strength. Ships floated above the clouds, unseen by human eyes but clear to hers. They were not here to talk, they were here to test her choice. The alien woman stood on the rooftop, her heart torn. She could hear their voices in her mind. Cold as iron, "You belong to us," they said. "You will return or you will watch this world burn." Her hands trembled, her chest heavy with fear. But then she thought of the man, his smile, his words, his kindness that asked for nothing. He had shown her what it meant to give. To belong, she could not abandon him. Not now, not ever. That night the test began. A storm of energy ripped through the city, hidden from most human eyes. Machines from her people moved between buildings, silent and deadly. And in the middle of it, the man was caught. He had gone searching for her. Worried by her fear, now he stood in the path of danger he could not even understand. She ran to him, her disguise shaking, her human form almost breaking. The Watchers moved closer, their glowing eyes fixed on her. "Choose," they said. "Return to us, or let the human die." The man looked at her with confusion, fear but also trust. He did not know what she truly was, but he believed in her, and in that moment her heart made the choice her mind could not. She stepped forward, her human form falling away. Her skin glowed silver, her eyes burst with galaxies. Her blood turned into light. The man gasped, but he did not run. He only whispered, "It's you." All this time, she stood between him and the Watchers, her voice strong. "If you want him, you will go through me." The Watchers laughed, cold and sharp. "You would risk your life for him, for a fragile human?" She raised her hands, her body burning with energy she had always hidden. "Yes," she said, her voice trembling but true. "Because he gave me something you never could, belonging." The Watchers moved, their power ready to strike, but she fought back. Light exploding from her veins, buildings shook, the sky cracked, the ground trembled. The man fell to his knees, shielding his eyes from the brilliance. Yet through the chaos he heard her cry, not of pain but of love. The battle raged in silence no human ear could hear. It was not only strength against strength, it was choice against control. Her people fought with order, with cold perfection. She fought with fire, with heart, with something alien to them, human love. Every strike she took was for him. Every wound was a promise beyond her kind, beyond his kind, a promise that she would stand for him no matter the cost. At last her body shook, her energy fading. She dropped to her knees, light bleeding from her skin. The Watchers stood above her, unbroken. "You see," they said, "love makes you weak." But then, a voice rose, not hers, but his. The man stood, Fragile, wounded, but unafraid. "You are wrong," he said, his voice steady. "Love is what makes us strong." He stepped in front of her, shielding her as she had shielded him. He had no power, no weapon, no alien blood, but he had courage, and in that courage she felt new strength. Her body lit again, brighter than before. Together, human and alien stood, and the watchers faltered for the first time. They saw a power they could not understand, a power not of stars but of hearts. The sky cracked. The watchers pulled back, their voices uncertain. "This world is dangerous," they said, "not because of weapons, but because of this weakness." And then they vanished, their shadows dissolving into the night. The city fell silent once more. The alien woman collapsed, her light dim, but the man caught her in his arms. Holding her close, "You're safe," he whispered. Though it was he who was shaking, she looked at him, her galaxy eyes fading back into human brown. "You should fear me," she whispered. "I am not like you," but he only smiled, touching her hand. "You are more human than most of us," he said, and in that moment she knew the truth. Humans were strong not because they were unbroken, but because they chose to rise again. Not because they were without fear, but because they loved in spite of fear, her heart filled with a promise not of duty but of choice. She whispered softly, her voice trembling with devotion, "I will belong here beyond any world, beyond any human love." The night was quiet after the storm. The alien woman lay in the man's arms, her light fading, her human form trembling. Above them, the stars stretched wide, endless and cold, yet somehow less distant than before. For the first time, she felt she was not alone beneath them. The city slept. Unaware of the silent war that had just passed, people dreamed in their small homes, never knowing that alien eyes had watched them, never knowing that one woman had stood between them and destruction. She could feel the pulse of her people still, far in the sky, retreating, not defeated but uncertain. They had seen something they could not control, something they feared, not her strength but her choice, her promise, her belonging. The man held her closer, his breath warm against the night. "You saved me," he whispered. But she shook her head weakly. "No. We saved each other," she replied. Her voice was soft, but it carried the truth of stars, for in that moment, human and alien had stood as one, and that unity had pushed back the empire that believed only in control. Days passed and she healed slowly. Her body was strong, but her heart carried scars no one could see. She walked again through the streets, watching humans laugh and argue, hope and dream. Everything looked different now, sharper, deeper, because she no longer only studied them. She belonged to them, yet belonging carried weight. Her people had not vanished. They had only retreated. They would return. Stronger, colder, angrier. They would test her again, and perhaps they would not stop at her. Perhaps they would test the whole of Earth. The thought burned in her, but it did not shake her promise. If they came, she would stand again, even if she stood alone. One evening, she and the man sat by the river, the same place where they had first spoken of home. The water moved slowly, reflecting the stars above. He asked her quietly, "Do you regret it? Choosing us instead of them?" Her eyes lifted to the sky, galaxies hidden behind their brown disguise. "No," she whispered, "I have no regret." And then, with a faint smile, she added, "My people gave me life, but you gave me reason." He said nothing, only took her hand in his silence. She felt more than words could carry. She felt trust, warmth, and the strange human power to forgive what cannot be explained. She thought of the battles to come, of the dangers waiting in the stars, but she also thought of laughter, of kindness, of belonging, and she knew her choice was final still. The mystery of her future stretched before her. Could she ever truly be human? Or would her alien blood always remind her she was different? Could she build a life on Earth? Or would the shadow of her people always return? She did not know, but she understood something greater. Humans did not live by knowing all answers. They lived by choosing in the dark, by stepping forward even when the path was unseen. And now she would do the same that night. As she stood alone on the rooftop once more, the city lights glowing below, she raised her face to the sky. The stars whispered her name, calling her back, but she whispered in return, her voice steady and strong, "No, I choose Earth. I choose love." And as her words faded into the night, she felt the weight of the universe shift. Perhaps small, perhaps invisible, but real. The man joined her there, Standing quietly at her side, he looked up too, his eyes reflecting the same stars. "What do you see up there?" he asked. She smiled faintly, her voice soft. "I see what I left behind. And I see what I found." He frowned a little, not fully understanding, but she only squeezed his hand. "One day you will know," she said. And so the alien woman lived between two truths. A daughter of the stars, but a guardian of Earth. A stranger to her own people, but a promise to the humans she had chosen. She was more than alien, more than human. She was something new. Something born not from blood or law, but from choice. The Watchers in the sky would return, she knew. The Empire would not forget. It would not forgive, but when they came, they would not find her alone. They would find her standing with humans. Weak in body, yet unbreakable in heart, and then the universe itself would see the truth she had learned, that love is not weakness, but the greatest strength. As the night deepened, she whispered one last vow to herself. "I will belong here, I will fight here, I will love here." And when the stars look down again, they will see not an alien woman, not a human man, but something greater, a promise beyond any human love. The days after the storm passed quietly. Humans continued their lives, unaware that the sky had nearly swallowed them. The alien woman walked among them as before, but nothing felt the same. Her steps carried a new weight. Her heart carried a new fire. She had chosen Earth, she had chosen love. But that choice was not without cost. Her people now marked her as a traitor, a wanderer who had broken the laws of stars. And though the city streets looked safe, she felt the invisible eyes above. She knew the Watchers had not vanished. They had only pulled back to wait. The man stayed close to her side. He asked little, he demanded nothing, but in his silence she felt strength. A quiet promise that she was no longer alone. Sometimes he would simply hold her hand as they walked through crowded streets, and she thought to herself, this is what it means to belong. Yet belonging was not easy. She could mimic human ways, but deep inside her alien nature stirred. At night when the moon was bright, her skin glowed faintly when she touched water. It rippled with hidden light, and sometimes her eyes betrayed her, galaxies flickering within. The man noticed, but he never turned away. Instead, he whispered, "You don't have to hide from me." And those words became her anchor. One evening, they returned to the riverbank where promises had once been made. The water reflected the stars. Quiet and endless, the man spoke softly. "Do you think they'll come back?" She looked to the sky, her heart heavy. "Yes," she whispered, "they will come. And they will not come in silence this time." Fear settled in her chest, not for herself, but for him, for the humans who had given her belonging. Her people were powerful. Their ships could tear the earth apart. But she also knew they did not understand. They did not know the strength of human hearts. And she believed that ignorance might be their downfall. That night, her dreams carried her back to her people's world. She saw towering spires of light, endless halls of order, voices cold as stone. "You are lost," they said. "You have traded eternity for weakness." But even in her dream, she answered, "Weakness is not what I found. I found strength beyond your reach," and the dream dissolved into fire. The next morning she walked through the marketplace. Children laughed, vendors shouted. People argued over small things, every sound, every smile. Every quarrel made her heart ache. This world was flawed, noisy, fragile, but it was alive. And in that chaos she found beauty her own world had buried long ago. The man joined her, carrying a book in his hand. "A gift," he said, placing it in hers. She opened it and saw empty pages. Confused, she asked, "There is nothing written?" He smiled. "That's because the story is for us to write." Her chest tightened, her eyes shining faintly for the first time. She felt her future was not only a burden, but a path she could choose. But even as she embraced hope, a shadow lingered. Strange signals moved through the air. Hidden from human machines, she could hear them in her mind. Faint and cold, her people were preparing. Their patience was ending. The next time they came, they would not only test her, they would test the whole of Earth. She stood on the rooftop that night, staring at the horizon. The man beside her quiet, waiting. "Are you afraid?" he asked. She took a breath, her voice steady. "Yes, but fear no longer rules me." He nodded, his hand tightening around hers. "Then whatever comes, we face it together." And so a new dawn began. The alien woman no longer walked as a stranger in a borrowed skin. She walked as someone who had chosen, someone who belonged. She knew the future would bring storms greater than before, but she also knew she would not face them alone. Her people might return with fire, but she had something they could not measure. She had the love of a human heart. She had the courage of belonging. And she had a promise stronger than law, stronger than stars, a promise to stand, to fight, to love, not just for herself, not just for him, but for all of Earth. As the first light of morning rose, she whispered to the sky, "You will come again, but this time you will see. You will see why humans endure. You will see why I chose them. And when you do, the universe itself will change." Her words faded into the dawn. The river flowed. The city woke. Life moved forward, but above the clouds unseen. The watchers listened, and in their silence, there was fear, for deep inside they had begun to understand. The alien woman was no longer theirs. She was human now in the only way that truly mattered.